Good evening, I'm Julie Webb, nutritional therapist for Breast Cancer Haven. Tonight I'm going to show you a really easy dinner, which is a really nice example of the Haven plate. So it's a spaghetti bolognese. So the Haven plate, as you know now, is a plate of two halves. Half of the plate is fruit and vegetables. The bottom half of the plate is your feeding half. It's your starch, your protein and your fat. So the dish I'm going to show you tonight is a simple spaghetti bolognese. But as opposed to using a sauce to make the bolognese, just going to teach you a really simple sauce. And what's lovely is by making your own sauce, you're going to put enough vegetables in it for the cleansing half of the plate. So it's each serving is going to give you 3 portions of veg for each person. So you don't need to serve any veg on the side. So that's one bonus. It's also a bonus if you're feeding children, trying to sneak more veg into them and you're trying to hide them because we're going to blend the sauce before we add the beef. So it's a nice way of sneaking everything in and really increasing your intake of vegetables. So in order to have enough vegetables per serving, because you're looking at having really 6 vegetables of servings a day, so 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner. So in order to get 3 times 80 grams into one portion, you're looking at putting close to 1 kilo of veg in a recipe. And sometimes when I say that to people, it sounds a bit overwhelming. I think people can't visualize what 1 kilo looks like. So here it is, okay? Not as much as you might think, because the tin of tomatoes alone is 400 grams. And then I've done 2, they're quite small onions. I've got red ones, that's all I've got in the house. You can use white as well, it wouldn't matter. So it's 2 small red onions. I've got 3 carrots, 1 pepper. Again, it doesn't matter which pepper you use. Could be any colour, and then I've got a couple of sticks of celery. Now, ideally, I would have put a leek in this recipe as well, but couldn't find the leek. So there's, you can play around with the vegetables you put in it. These work quite well. They're just your classic bolognese sort of ingredients. But again, it depends on what you've got or whether you've got any dislikes in the family. Okay, so the most labour-intensive part of this recipe is actually chopping your vegetables. So I have chopped the pepper, the onion, and the celery, but I have grated the carrot. So all I'm going to do now, turn my gas on. Now I'm going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil. So I always recommend that if you're going to saute anything, you actually use extra virgin olive oil. It's really the only oil you need to have in your cupboard. Olive oil is an omega-9 fat, which means it's monounsaturated, so it actually can withstand heat. You will lose a couple of the antioxidants in it, but you'll still get most of them. It won't actually cause you any harm. A lot of people want to cook in rapeseed oil, and rapeseed oil is an omega-6 fat. It's too high in polyunsaturates. It cannot withstand heat. So I never recommend cooking in rapeseed oil. So all I'm going to do now is saute these vegetables, add the grated carrot to the pan. And then I'm going to add the garlic. So I've crushed the garlic ready. So that's about 4 cloves of garlic. Now, I have used I'm going to add, a pinch of salt as well. So I have used a little bit of olive oil, but maybe if you're working with me one-to-one, I have asked you to either to withhold fats temporarily if perhaps we're trying to reverse insulin resistance, or maybe if you're on my weight management plan, you could saute this in just a little bit of stock or water, and then what we do is we add the fat to serve at the end. That way it's much easier to control your portion size. Make sure you're actually getting enough fat, but just for now I've just added a tablespoon. So I'm going to saute that on a low heat for 10 minutes. And that's it for now. While those vegetables are sauteing, I am browning my beef. So I think people are often pleasantly surprised, when I tell them that actually red meat is completely allowed within the Haven plate. And that's the advice from the World Cancer Research Fund. So it's processed meat that you want to be avoiding, but actually a good lean beef mince, for example, is a really nice source of iron and a good protein to use if that's what your family likes. So I will serve this for my kids. They will prefer this to a lentil bolognese, to be honest. So the safe limit that you can have raw weight is some 5 to 750 grams a week. Now this was a tub that it had 400 grams. So even if I made this bolognese and had it 4 nights in a row, I am still within the safe limits of red meat that's allowed. So I want you to have red meat as part of your mix if you wish to, completely guilt-free. So I've browned this now, and hopefully my vegetables are nearly done. So to the vegetables, I am going to add a tablespoon of dried oregano. You could use fresh if you have it, but dried is always in the cupboard for me. So tablespoon of oregano. I'm going to just crumble a stock cube into it, and then 250 mils of boiled water, and 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. So I had this from yesterday, otherwise I would just normally use the tubes, are quite useful. So 2 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add my tin of tomatoes. Okay, so I'll just give that a stir. Now, there we go, so they're ready. So now what I'm going to do is blend that so it's a proper sauce. I mean, I like it chunky as well, but I think for more of a traditional bolognese, and especially for disguising the vegetables for the kids, we will blend it. Now, I'll just show you what I use, because in order to make cooking less stressful, I'm not looking for loads of washing up. So I use one of these. I could not be without this. They're about £12 from, supermarkets or Argos or something. So I will just simply blend it in here. I'll do it off screen so you don't have to listen to it. But I will just blend it in here rather than transferring it to a big sort of blender, which is a lot more work for me. Less work, the more likely I am to cook properly every night. So I will just blend that for you now. Okay, so now you can see we have here beautiful vegetable sauce. So at this stage, we could actually still make this a plant-based bolognese if we wanted. I could add some mixed beans, some tins of mixed beans at this stage. I could add 2 tins of lentils. You want about half a tin per serving, so 2 tins of lentils. Or I could add about 170 grams of raw rinsed lentils, add a bit of extra stock, and then cook it. So, because what I want to do now to develop the flavors of this sauce, to thicken it, I want to cook it now for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to add my beef. This is going to be a beef bolognese. So I'm going to add my beef now to this. I should have said also that I always choose the lowest fat beef that I can. We know that the best diet for breast cancer is high in vegetables and fruits and low in fat, saturated fat. So we choose the lowest fat beef that we can. Okay, so that is it now. It's done. So I'm going to now boil it and then simmer it for 20 minutes. And then during that time, towards the last 10 minutes, I will cook my pasta. So the pasta will be the starch component of my plate, and I will cook wholemeal pasta. It takes about 11 minutes. And then that's it. It's a one-pot dish. I will probably drizzle some olive oil on to serve so that each person's getting their healthy fats. And you can top it with a little sprinkle of cheese. We don't recommend too much cheese. You are allowed to have dairy if you've had breast cancer, but it seems to be the link is possibly with the cheese, which we think is due to the saturated fat. So really, cheese in the diet should be kind of like a topping rather than the main event, but a little sprinkle of Parmesan or a tiny sprinkle of grated cheese is absolutely fine. And that's it. Hopefully that seems quite easy and you'll give it a go. Bye-bye.